Hello and welcome to D&D Daily English, episode 28. I'm Daphne, joining you on the 27th of May, 2026.
And I'm Dan. Good to be here.
Today, we're taking you somewhere truly extraordinary. Forget busy cities and popular tourist spots. We are going to a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a place called Palau. And more specifically, we're going to a lake full of jellyfish. Thousands and thousands of jellyfish.
Jellyfish Lake. I mean, even the name sounds like something from a dream, right?
It really does. Now, before we dive in, quite literally, let us understand where Palau is. Palau is a very small island nation. It sits in a part of the Pacific Ocean called Micronesia. It is remote, it is quiet, and it is home to one of the most unique ecosystems on the planet.
And when we say unique, we really mean it. This lake has a species of jellyfish that exists nowhere else on Earth, just this one lake. That's it.
Precisely. The lake is officially called Ongeim'l Tketau, but everyone simply calls it Jellyfish Lake. It measures 400 meters long and 30 meters deep. Now, here is what makes it scientifically fascinating. The lake is what biologists call completely stratified. Dan, would you like to explain that in simple terms?
Sure. So, think of the lake like a layered cake. The top layer has oxygen and sunlight. That's where life happens. The middle layer has purple bacteria. And the bottom? It's basically a dead zone. Nothing can survive down there because of a dangerous gas called hydrogen sulfide. So the jellyfish all stay up top, near the light.
A layered cake. Very, Dan. But yes, that is essentially correct. Marine biologist Elspeth Strike explains that there are only 11 marine lakes in the entire world that are stratified this way. 11 out of all the oceans and lakes on this planet.
That's wild. And it gets even more interesting. The lake sits inside a limestone rock island. Over thousands of years, rainwater, which is slightly acidic, filled up a natural sinkhole. Then, tiny cracks in the limestone allowed a little ocean water to mix in. So the lake has its own totally special chemistry.
And that special chemistry is exactly why the golden jellyfish thrive there. These creatures are golden in color, though, interestingly, they appear pink underwater. And here is the wonderful part. They do not sting. You can swim right beside them.
Which is totally the opposite of every other jellyfish experience I've ever heard of.
Indeed. There is also a second species living in the lake, moon jellyfish. They are white and shaped like flat saucers. Some people call them sun jellies and moon jellies. Rather poetic, I think.
Now, here's something cool. A lot of people have actually seen a photo of this lake without knowing what it was. It was used as a background image on Apple computers and iPhones. That famous photo of thousands of tiny golden organisms floating together? Yeah, that's Jellyfish Lake.
The author of our article today had exactly that experience. She saw the photo as a child, used it as her very first screensaver, and years later found herself swimming in that very lake. There is something rather moving about that, I think. A place that feels like a dream, and then one day you are actually there.
Right. And speaking of being there, getting to Jellyfish Lake is not easy. Palau's airport is tiny, only a few flights a day. The writer flew through Taipei, which makes sense. Palau and Taiwan actually have a strong travel connection.
Once you land, you take a 1-hour boat ride to Ongeim'l Island, then a 10 to 15-minute hike uphill. And before you enter the lake, visitors must remove their clothes, shoes, and empty their pockets. Even a small amount of dust could harm the ecosystem.
Palau takes conservation very seriously, like really seriously. The whole country has banned single-use plastics. Visitors must sign something called the Palau Pledge, basically promising to be respectful and responsible. And you can only use approved reef-safe sunscreen.
There is also a visiting permit required for the lake, which can cost up to $100 per person. Scuba diving is completely banned. Only snorkeling is permitted because it keeps people safely in that top layer of water. The ecosystem is simply too delicate for anything more.
And you don't need to go deep anyway. The jellyfish are just inches below the surface. The trick is to follow the sunlight. The jellyfish actually migrate through the day, moving toward the sun. So you just swim toward the brightest part of the lake.
Now, many visitors want to recreate that famous apple photo. However, the jellyfish population today is smaller than it was when that original image was taken. Climate change, El Niño weather events, and warming waters have all affected their numbers. The image you see on that screensaver may be difficult to replicate.
Which is actually a reminder of how fragile these places are. You know, I've been thinking, we often talk about things being rare, a limited edition product, a hard-to-find ingredient, but this is something else, a living creature that exists in one single lake on one small island. That's a different kind of rare.
Well said, Dan. And in a world where, as the article notes, almost anyone can order the same furniture from IKEA or the same coffee from Starbucks, the existence of something this singular feels almost miraculous. That word, I think, is entirely earned here.
It reminds me a little of discovering a regional instant noodle you can only get in one specific place. Back in the day, I talked about how great it is to find something local and irreplaceable, a food, a flavor that just belongs to one spot. Jellyfish Lake is kind of that, but for the whole natural world.
A rather unexpected comparison, but I will allow it. The point stands. Some things simply cannot be exported or replicated. They must be visited, respected, and protected where they are.
So if Palau was on your travel list or if it just got added, remember, follow the rules, respect the environment, and just float near the light.
Beautifully put. Right, let us recap today's key vocabulary before we close. Stratified, meaning divided into clear, separate layers. Ecosystem, a community of living things and their environment. Conservation, protecting nature. Limestone, a type of rock. And snorkeling, swimming near the surface with a breathing tube and mask.
All really useful words, especially if you are planning to visit Jellyfish Lake someday.
And on that note, we come to the end of episode 28. What a story it has been, from a laptop screensaver to one of the most protected and extraordinary natural wonders on Earth. Palau's Jellyfish Lake is proof that our planet still holds genuine magic, if only we take care of it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Your support truly encourages us to bring better content to you each and every day. Keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you next time.